Welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, licensed psychologist. Let me know in the chat if the redirect worked because I think a lot of you all were redirected or you were able to click the link to come on over. Today, we are talking about a very, very difficult case. Okay. And so I started streaming at about 1:10 and I have my water. I have some kombucha water. Like I am just okay? Because this case is very, very heavy. We are going to be talking about the horrific, tragic case of Harmony Montgomery. Okay. Her father is currently on trial for second degree murder, I want to say. And he is, he's the worst. I don't know. He and so this picture of him was taken at the time of the arrest. Both him and Kayla, they both look different at this time. Kayla, she was likely in active substance abuse at this time. She looks different from how she looks now. We are going to take a look at Kayla Montgomery's testimony just for a brief overview for this case. So, Harmony, the adorable, awesome little she was 5 years old at the time that she disappeared, and, um, what we now know, what Kayla says happened is that while they were homeless and living in a car, that her father so she had while they were living in the car, every so often she would have accidents. She would both urinate and defecate on herself. And I want to remind everyone that this can be a stress response in children when we see this happening. Now, just because someone is doing this, just because somebody has potty training difficulties, that doesn't automatically mean that something's happened or that something's going on. But as a therapist, my trauma, like my red flags start like, we need to take a look to see what's happening in this child's life. Are they overstressed? What's happening? Because emptying of bowels and losing the ability to manage your bladder and bowels, that is an instinctual thing. It's our amygdala. It's a hijack response where because if a bear is chasing me, eliminating my bowels could make me lighter and could make me faster. And so that's why in a very, very scary trend, in a very, very scary situation, you might get the urge to go to the bathroom. You might get the urge to regurgitate. These things can happen in those types of situations. And I do believe that that was likely what was happening at this time. My little disclaimer, I'm Dr. Barry. I'm a licensed psychologist. Am not involved with this case. I'm not doing a psychological evaluation. I can't talk about any specific diagnoses. I can just speak in general to what could be going on in a situation like this. All right. And so my son is going to try to be in the office quietly with me. And so we will see. You can do two pumps because that's the big one. He's putting something extra in his water. And so we're gonna see how this goes. He might be kindly asked to go back to his room. We will see what happens. We are going to take a look at Kayla's testimony. So, in this case, what Adam Montgomery is doing is he is claiming that Kayla's the one that's how Harmony was harmed. He's saying that Kayla did it. And then that he disposed of everything, he did all of that. But Mm. Uh, and Kayla's the one. So Kayla got a very good deal with the prosecution for agreeing to testify. She lied to the grand jury and she lied to detectives at first. They were sticking with the story that um, that Adam had taken Harmony back to the birth mother and that was the last time that they had seen her. She was sticking with that story and then she eventually in my opinion, I think she ended up telling the truth because she ended up telling them about the shelter that they were in and where she was stored. And the detectives would have never had that information. They would have never known to look there and go do all of those things. I think Kayla's the one that told them about the pizza. Oh, this case has horrific details. She was the one that told them about the storage of the body in in the refrigerator at the pizza parlor. Ugh, ugh. Ugh. And so, let's go on ahead and start out with some of her testimony. And I'm going to pause it at times. If anyone would like the full link, please be sure to see all links to all videos in the description.
Kayla, can you begin by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
My name is Kayla Montgomery, Kayla Montgomery.
Sorry,
And how old are you, Kayla?
33.
So this one, I know some people need closed captions. Just ahead, this video, closed captions is not available. Okay, so I was going to try to turn that on, but it's not available.
Where do you currently live?
I am in the correctional facility for women's in Concord, New Hampshire,
How long have you been there?
for over a year.
Kayla, why are you currently incarcerated?
For perjury, for lying to the jury about the whereabouts of where I was and where Harmony was.
And when you say lying to the jury, was that the grand jury?
Yes.
Did you also lie to the police?
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
Because I was scared, and I was told by Adam to stick with that story, that I got dropped off at work at Dunkin' Donuts, where I no longer worked at that time, and to say that he was bringing Harmony to meet her mother, Crystal, and that he dropped her off with her.
And Crystal has been present for some of the testimony. She was not present for this testimony. And we are not going to play the horrific. So we're not going to play the details of what happened in the car, and we're not going to play how he. We're not going to play that portion. Um, so not only did they trade, it's my understanding that they traded the food stamps for substances, they also continued to collect her Social Security and then also claimed her on taxes as well.
Then when he came pick me up from work, which I was not working there at the time, he didn't have her in the car, which that was a lie.
That story that you just told, that was what you told the grand jury?
Yes.
It's what you told the police?
Yes.
And was that in fact what happened?
No.
You said you've been sentenced for lying.
Yes.
You're living at the prison. Do you understand the consequences of providing false testimony?
Yes.
And since those lies, since your time in prison, have you sat down with investigators? Have you sat down with the Attorney General's office and provided additional statements?
Yes.
How many times?
About 4 times.
How many hours?
A couple hours at a time when they've came to see me, or I've gone out to the office to meet with them.
Did you reach a plea agreement with the state?
Yes.
And that was on the perjury charges?
Yes.
Other charges were dismissed, is that right?
Yes.
The story that you just told about the defendant dropping Harmony off with Crystal, who came up with that story?
Adam,
Why did you stick to it?
because I was scared for myself and my children that are also Adam's, and for him, because I didn't want anybody to get in trouble and I was scared.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Kayla, you referred to Harmony Montgomery just now. How do you know her?
She's Adam's daughter, and we started a year after we got together. He was working on getting custody of her, and he had to work to get custody of her. He wasn't just given her, and it took 4 years to get custody of her. And during those 4
I think this was his account to her. So to me, Adam makes himself to be the victim all the time. And because she's talking about how hard he worked to get custody. In my opinion, I have seen people have to take classes, have to take anger management, have to successfully pass drug tests. So at court, they could have test. I don't know if they did or not, but sometimes a part of family court, the judge can, or they can be asked to do a drug test right there. Like, I have seen people have to jump through major hoops. They have to get a psychological evaluation. They have to get a parenting capacity. I have seen people have to do all of those things. If you all have specific questions about trying to understand Kayla, let me know those questions. Phoenix asked a really good question, and I want to play a little bit more of Kayla's testimony before I kind of get to some of the questions that I've already received for this case. And just some of my general thoughts. Dr. G explains, he talked about some of her body language. I don't know if she was given something. I don't know if she's on something for anxiety. She seems like some of her emotions are kind of blunted or kind of held back at times, and then sometimes they come up. Her emotions seemed odd to me, and this could just be her baseline. That could just be what happens for her, or it could also be her trying to play herself to be the victim too. In my opinion, my personal opinion, I think she's the one that was kind of in the best place to try to protect Harmony, but I honestly think she puts Adam above even their kids, above Harmony, above herself. I think she put Adam above everybody else, in my opinion. Because this could have been their child. It could have been. And I don't know if she would have left him. I'm honestly saying, I don't know if she would have left him if the same thing had happened to one of, and I don't know, like, I don't know her situation, but, like, something just seems off, seems very off. And I hope, because I think she has the potential to be up for probation or parole. I think she's up for parole, like, within the next year or something. Like, it might be relatively soon. I hope she gets significant help. That's just my thoughts.
years, we both visited her each week for a couple hours.
Was she your stepdaughter?
Yes.
Showing this witness what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 98 for identification. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Who's depicted in this image?
Harmony and myself.
And can you point to Harmony? And is there a date associated with this image?
Yes, July 7th, 2019.
And do you recognize this image?
Yes.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of Harmony on that day?
Yes.
Who's the other person depicted in that picture with Harmony?
Myself.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of you that day?
Yeah.
Do you know who took this photo?
I did.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd move to strike the ID and mark as full, State's Exhibit 98,
Any objection?
Okay.
and publish.
The ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit and it may be published to the jury.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Playing. We always did silly pictures.
You mentioned getting custody of Harmony at some point. Do you remember when that was?
It was the month of February of 2019.
And where were you living when you got custody of Harmony?
77 Guilford Street in Manchester, New Hampshire.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit. She's going to talk a little bit about the room that she helped decorate for Harmony. I think the prosecution is trying to, because they know that she was there for all of this, for everything that happened. She was right there. And so I think the prosecution is just trying to have the jury maybe make it seem like she liked Harmony or something. I don't know. But they're trying to play up something. I'm going to fast forward.
Kayla, you mentioned Kevin sounded angry.
Yes.
Was this a quiet conversation?
No.
How would you describe it?
Yelling at each other back and forth. Argumentative. Yeah, it was just loud and angry.
Where were you during this conversation?
In the living room of the house in Guilford Street.
And where were the children?
Playing.
Did you understand what they were talking about?
Yes. I know that they were arguing about a black eye that Harmony had, that I was told that
She can't
So
say what she was told.
The
She
the
can't.
black eye that Harmony
Yeah.
had you seen that before that argument?
yes,
And tell this jury where you saw that black eye.
on the
The first time you
side.
saw it.
It was on the side of her face right here. It was really red. It didn't really turn black and blue until like the next day.
So the first day you saw it, when it was red, really red, how did you see that? Where were you?
I came home from work and I saw her face and it was red, and I was told that.
And let me stop you there. You came home from work.
Yeah.
So this would have been around 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Did you have an understanding of where Harmony had been that day?
Yes.
And tell us where that was.
She was at home at Guilford Street
Who was she at home with?
with Adam and Uncle Kevin and Seamus and Declan.
And when you got home, when you saw this injury, the redness to Harmony's eye, did you ask the defendant what happened to her?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
That her and Seamus were playing and Seamus hit her in the face with the lightsaber by accident.
And the CPS worker, I believe that's what was told to the CPS worker as well. Oh, and a Nerf lightsaber is not going to cause that type of injury. His explanation does not. That's not what happened.
After you heard that confrontation between the defendant and Kevin, did you confront the defendant?
Yes, I asked him.
And at that point, did he tell you a new story about this injury to Harmony's eye?
No, it was the same. Well, yeah, he ended up telling me after
What was the new story he told you?
that he ended up hitting her in the face because she covered our son's mouth because he was crying and he was in the bathroom. He went to the bathroom. Declan was crying and Harmony had her hand over his mouth, and he came out of the bathroom and saw that, and his lips were blue, purple blue, and he hit her.
Did he describe how he hit her?
He smacked her in the face.
Did he acknowledge causing that injury?
Yes.
Do you know what Demetrius Soros with DCYF?
Yes.
Did he come to the house after that interaction between Kevin and the defendant?
Yes.
Did you know at the time what the purpose of his visit was?
Yes.
What was it?
DCYF got called about the children not being taken care of, and that Adam was abusing his daughter.
When Mr. Soros arrived at your home, what did the defendant do with Harmony?
He left with her. He grabbed Harmony and left with her.
He grabbed her and left?
Yeah.
Did you have a conversation with Demetrius that day?
Yes.
In that conversation, did you cover for the defendant?
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't want him to get in trouble.
Was there a period in 2019 when you no longer lived at the house on Guilford Street?
Yes.
And tell us how that came to be.
We ended up getting evicted from the house in November of 2019, the day before Thanksgiving, because the mortgage wasn't being paid.
And so I did a previous video where we did cover, and it's about more about Adam, and we covered a little bit of his interrogation video, and another piece of the interrogation video. They specifically talk about the fact that they got evicted, and he blames the family members that moved out, that stopped paying the mortgage. I'm guessing that they were supposed to financially, because it sounds like they were using substances at this point, and they weren't managing their finances. And so this is wow. And I'm starring questions, because the questions that y'all are asking, and then if you don't see your question, if when I start answering questions, if you don't see it, please just ask it again. And if you have questions in the chat or in the comments on replay, please make sure to let me know if you have any of those too. Someone mentioned Mother of Cycle Breakers. I love, love, love that username. She seems to be disconnected and kind of dissociate throughout her testimony. That's what made me think that she might have been on some anxiety medication. I've had clients who were, because somebody else mentioned the fact she does. So Kayla has her own history of significant DV with what, like, she was the victim of DV by Adam, and she was afraid of him. None of this excuses what she did. None of it. None of it excuses it. Okay? It just helps me understand. They likely have a trauma bond, and I'm going to get to trauma bonds when we stop a little bit later for questions. I want to play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to get to some of that. I also think so. To me, Kayla, and substances affect everybody's brain a little bit different. To me, Kayla, and then also Crystal, I don't know their IQ. I don't know. to me, Adam, he either is good at faking smart, or I think he likes women that are at a lower intellectual level than him. Because somebody mentioned part of his issue with Harmony was very smart. She was very talkative. The way that people describe her is just like she was just this awesome little kid, and it just seems like like that triggered. He's just ugh, ugh. Those are my professional opinions. Ugh, ugh. All right, let's keep going.
And Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
I'm gonna keep going. They're having whole conversations over here.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'd ask that the court take judicial notice that the day before Thanksgiving in 2019 is November 27th.
The court takes judicial notice that the day before Thanksgiving in 2019 was November 27th, 2019.
Kayla, why were you evicted from the home?
Because the mortgage wasn't getting paid.
And after you were evicted, where did you begin living?
In our car,
What kind of vehicle was it?
a Chrysler Sebring.
When you began living in that car, who were you with?
It was myself and Adam, Harmony, and the two boys
Where were you sleeping during that period?
in the car
Where would you keep the car?
behind Colonial Village in Manchester.
Why Colonial Village?
Because that's where our friend lived,
What was your friend's name?
Anthony Bodero.
Did you tell Mr. Badero that you were living there in that parking lot?
He asked us not to, but yes.
And so, can you just describe this sleeping arrangement in that vehicle for you and your family at the time?
So Adam would sleep in the driver's seat. I slept in the passenger seat, and Harmony was behind the passenger seat, and the baby Declan was in the middle, and Seamus was behind the driver's seat.
Kayla, I asked you earlier about whether Harmony was potty trained when you got custody of her.
She was.
And I believe you said she was.
Yes,
Did that change at some point after the eviction?
yes.
And tell the jury about that. What happened to Harmony?
And so once again, after that, Harmony started having issues with toileting, and it was likely the stress. So Harmony had never been without a home before. Like, now I don't know what her life was like when she lived with her mother, but it sounds like DSS was very involved. And as soon as they thought something wasn't okay, that they would come in and she would end up getting safe, and that she was in safe and stable housing. Um, um, Kayla also admits that she didn't want to get into trouble too. Okay. So I do not I think a part of her testimony is also protecting herself as well. Like, she got a deal. She got a really, really, because she could be charged with abuse of a corpse, and she could be charged with all of these things that she wasn't charged with. She's only been charged with perjury. That's my understanding. And so, ugh. And she watched him do horrific, horrible things that I'm not going to repeat here, but oh, boy, it's a very, very troubling case. I did want to play. There was um, a woman that transported them to the methadone clinic, and she talked about um, just an interaction that she had with Adam, and so I want to play that real quick. All right. Really nice lady. She saw some of the injuries to Kayla. She did medical transportation, and at that time, I don't know that she still does medical transportation. Um, but she's giving testimony from, and it looks like it's March of 2021, where she transported Kayla to a methadone clinic, and there were significant injuries to Kayla at the time.
Would you say, would you or would you not agree that this incident was not like this driving was not like other driving that you've done for them?
Absolutely. It was something I will never forget.
Okay.
And ma'am, I'm going to need you to raise your voice. It's a big room, and everybody here needs to be able to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was not like other rides.
Okay. I'd like to ask you, when you first saw, did you see Kayla Montgomery on that day for this particular ride?
Yes, I did.
And without going into what Miss Montgomery said, when you saw her face, how did she appear to you?
Her left eye was badly bruised and starting to swell shut.
Did you drive her that day down to the methadone clinic?
I drove both of them that day.
And with regards to, pardon me, excuse me, with regards to that drive, had you driven Miss Montgomery the day before?
Yes, I had.
Did she have that black eye the day before?
No, she had not.
So on that day, when you drove her down to the methadone clinic with the black eye, who else was in the car with you and Miss Montgomery?
Adam.
Adam. And by that, you mean Adam Montgomery?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, that is Adam Montgomery.
This is the other person that you drove in that car?
That's correct.
He stepped away from the mic. I'm sorry.
Do not believe so. I think Kayla said
They asked about Declan and James, so it was a little hard to hear.
that she left them with a neighbor. Oh, okay.
I don't want to ask what Kayla said quite yet. So
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay. The children were not in the car with them that day.
Okay. So they were not with him that day. When you saw Kayla with the black eye and you were driving down to the methadone clinic and back, how was she moving in her car? Could you describe physically what you saw in terms of her movements?
She didn't move very much, and she didn't say very much because Adam was in the car.
Okay. At some point in time, did you pull out your cell phone? And can you
She had asked to use.
hold on just a minute, Ms. Smith. I'm sorry. I can't ask you what she said to you.
No.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what happened in the car,
Okay.
physical movements, okay?
Yes.
And I apologize. That's on me. I should ask more clarifying question or a more specific question. With regards to the drive to the methadone clinic,
Yes.
did anything occur in the car on the drive down to the methadone clinic?
No.
Okay. And then for the drive from the methadone clinic on Market Street back to Union Street,
Yes.
let me ask you, the event that I want to ask you about, did that occur when you were back at Union Street?
Yes.
Okay. When this event occurred, where was Kayla?
In the front seat beside me.
Okay. And where was Adam at this point?
Walking away from the car.
Okay. And with regards to there with Kayla, what, if anything, did you try to give Kayla?
I tried to give her my phone.
Okay. What did you believe she was going to do with the phone?
She said, well, I can't do, she said,
No.
he wanted to call for help.
Okay. And with regards to that, how was she physically at the time? I know you've described the black eye already. How was she physically when you went to try to give her the phone?
She was shaky.
Where was Adam when you tried to give her the phone?
He was walking back towards the car, but
And so at that point, you said he was walking back towards the car.
I didn't.
Okay, so trigger warnings just for how she's going to give this testimony. She is going to be very afraid. Okay, so just trigger warning for that part.
See Adam there. I saw rage. So pure rage walking towards me.
What did Adam do as he, were you in the driver's seat?
Yes.
And where was Kayla?
Beside me in the passenger seat.
And what did the defendant do?
he reached into the window of the car and twisted my phone out of my hand and said, "You're not giving my wife that phone."
What did you say to him when he did that to you?
I looked at him and I said, "Adam, I love you. Please give me the phone back. I'm trying to help you guys."
What did he do then?
He then gave me the phone back and I was able to give it to Kayla.
Did he say anything else?
No.
So that you begged him for the phone back,
I begged
essentially.
him for the phone back. I did report that
Let me ask about that. You said you reported that.
to my boss, not the police. I reported that to my boss, and I told her that I didn't think I should be picking them up anymore, that I had been very frightened by what had happened. And thereafter, I carried pepper spray.
Thereafter, you started carrying pepper spray because of this.
Yes.
Can you just have a moment, please, Your Honor? Sometimes we need a minute to confer to make sure that I understand accurately.
Attorney Gotti, if you would use the microphone and keep
Sorry,
your
Your
voice
Honor,
up,
I thought it was
please.
close
Thank
enough.
you.
One question that I would like to go ahead and ask you, and just trying to clarify, is I know that you testified a moment ago that this occurred in your memory, that this was back in March of 2021.
Yes.
And I want to ask you whether or not you are sure with regards to that particular date.
I am.
Okay. Do you feel that at all that, or excuse me, have you ever provided statements to others that had occurred in the spring of 2020 other than 2021?
I had to meditate on that. And I concurred with my boss. We have records.
You have records.
My boss at Pelican Transportation has records.
Okay, so let me just try to clarify. So when you say I had to meditate on that,
And I asked my boss.
you asked your boss. Okay, all right. Meditation out loud. So you asked your boss about the date and when you asked to not have to drive them anymore. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. And after doing that, you looked at some records?
Yes, my boss has all the records of when we picked them up and when we dropped them off.
And after speaking with your boss, now your memory is that this was in 2021 rather than 2020.
Yes.
I want to answer Mama Bear's question because she was so Medicaid, for people with Medicaid in most states. So I know in Virginia, you can get free transportation to medical appointments. And so clients are able to use their Medicaid number for scheduled appointments. They're able to use it to get free transportation, and then Medicaid pays the transportation provider. So she was paid. That's why she said she talked to her boss. So she was a driver for a non-emergency medical transportation company. All right. I hope that clarifies things. She is just the best. I just and the way that she described his rage, after all this is said and done, I wonder what the jurors are going to hold on to. There have been particular pieces of testimony where the way that Adams described and the way, like, to me, it makes sense that he's the aggressor in these situations. And I am going to break down because Kate had a great comment about the difference between methadone and Suboxone, and I'm going to talk about that because I've had clients on Suboxone, and I naively, so I hadn't researched enough about methadone, and so because I've never had a client that was going to methadone clinics, I've only had clients on Suboxone, so I want us to talk about that a little bit more too. So make sure to let me know your questions in the chat. I am flagging them. And then we're going to get to questions next.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I don't have any further questions. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Smith.
Hi.
Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Yes.
I'm sorry about what happened. I can tell that it shook you.
Mhm.
But this was March of 2021.
Yes,
No doubt in your mind about it.
that's correct.
When Adam took the phone, you told him that you loved him,
I did tell him that.
and he gave you the phone back.
He softened and he gave me the phone back.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And I think the defense was trying to I don't know what they were I don't know. So there really wasn't a good question for the defense to ask this witness, but I think they were trying to leave it in the jury's mind that he didn't stay in that rage and the I love you, but that's once again playing into a narcissist in my personal opinion. And I don't know, like I don't and narcissism is a spectrum and psychopathology, so individuals with antisocial personality disorder and some narcissistic traits are really, really common. And so, Anne Cat, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate it. Um, were did they know each other in high school? So I don't know. I don't know any of that. It would not I don't know. I don't know any of those answers to those things. The chat will probably be able to tell you. All right, so let's get to. I want to talk about trauma bond, and then we're going to talk about Suboxone versus um, the other one, methadone. All right, I am going to put this link in the chat. Doo-doo. All right, there we go. And so here we're going to just read a little bit about a trauma bond. And a trauma bond is an attachment that develops from a cycle of physical or emotional harm, followed by positive reinforcement. Trauma bonds most commonly develop in romantic relationships, and leaving these relationships can be very hard. When a person experiences emotional or physical harm, it is hard to process those feelings. It can be confusing. So nobody is all bad. So even Adam, he's not all bad. Like he can be nice, he can be charming, he can be kind at times. And then there's this other side, there's this rage. And so that can be confusing for the person, and that's really, really confusing for a child. Often trauma bond occurs, but it can also happen between a child and an abusive caregiver. I believe I talked about this with the Timothy Ferreter case. He was the father, and the son was RF because RF testified in his father's case. We're watching his mother, Tracy, his adoptive mother. We're watching her case is going to be coming up. Because the father was found guilty, sentenced to only like we weren't happy with the sentence, but that's okay. But he still talked about how much he loved his father, even after experiencing all of this physical and emotional and neglect and harm, everything that RF experienced, he still had this love for his father. And I think the therapist talked about trauma bonds. Yes, the therapist that participated, I think, in the victim witness statements, she talked about trauma bonds. It can happen between a hostage and their kidnapper. That's often referred to as Stockholm syndrome. And it can happen between colleagues or friends. All right. So, how does it work? When a person experiences harm, it can be tough to process the emotions that come along with it and cope. With trauma bonding, one person harms, inflicting a trauma, but then follows that harm with positive reinforcement, like physical affection, or I'm sorry, or whatever. For the other person, these traumatic experiences bring up a wide array of emotions and it can be difficult to cope. I saw somebody mention the fact that wondering if Kayla had her own trauma history, because there are people, if they experience early childhood trauma, like if somebody has had a lot of childhood trauma, you can sometimes think that this is love. So somebody that is raised by a harmful parent is sometimes at risk of, and not always. So not always. I don't say that always, but sometimes versus a person that knows that love does not mean that you harm me. So like love is protection, love is safety, that love is not harm. And because there's some people that like they like it when their partner is jealous, or they like it when like that they feel good about that. That's not. And I also believe that I don't think love is enough. I think I can love somebody and they still not be the right person. Like that just love in of itself is not enough to sustain a healthy relationship. Relationships are incredibly hard, and yes, yes, yes. Some people are afraid of being alone, and I've worked with a lot of moms that have been afraid of being a single parent, just afraid of doing it on their own, despite the fact that when I look at their lives, often they're doing a lot of it on their own already. But just the idea of being physically alone is really, really scary for the individual. Um, as a result, the person might start to feel bonded to the harmful person, and there can be an emotional attachment that's formed in the midst of that. And Phoenix mentioned love bombing. So often before trauma bonding, there is this honeymoon phase that's really intense. So this is the person that calls you every second of every day, like they just like it's just like they say I love you on the first date. Like it's a lot. They're very intense at the start, but that's kind of the mask. That's to cover what's to come. Because as soon as they get comfortable, they're going to start to show their true side. And yes. All right. All right. So let's talk about breaking trauma bonds. So there's 7 stages: love bombing, trust and dependency, criticism, gaslighting, addiction, loss of self, resignation, and submission. So let's break that down a little bit more. Love bombing, I talked about, that's the excessive flattery. And this is the harmful person that's excessively flattering and lifting up, like, oh, you're so beautiful. Like, you're my best partner ever. I don't know, like they're just showering them with everything up front. And then there's trust and dependency. Does anything to gain the partner's trust and dependence. I've sometimes seen that they start to isolate them from other people, isolating them from other friends, family, things like that. There can be this criticism where the harmful person now shifts and starts blaming and criticizing the partner, maybe their physical appearance or like how they clean, how they cook. They just become very, very critical. Nothing is ever good enough. Nothing. And this is where sometimes some of the harm can start as well with that criticism. Gaslighting. So gaslighting is where um, someone like Adam says, if you hadn't done what you did, I wouldn't have done what I did, or what I did wasn't that bad because of what you did. Like they minimize their behavior, they turn their behavior and they make it your fault. They criticize your reality. Like you lied to me. I wasn't lying. I was just like, and they like, no, like you literally just lied to me. There can be this addiction. The partner that's being harmed gets emotionally addicted to the positive reinforcement that comes after the harm. So we've talked about cycles of violence, and after the tension, there can be this positive phase after that. And the person can get kind of addicted to that. There is this loss of self where they don't see themselves outside of the other person. And that's that lack of emotional boundaries. I've also seen sometimes with that codependency where like somebody like Kayla is trying to help him with his anger. Like, no, like I'm gonna help him. No, no, no. Like he needs professional help. Like, no, no, no. Like, no. And then that last stage of resignation and submission, the partner gives in to avoid conflict and please their partner. All right. And so this breaks down those different things. We talk about gaslighting. Good, good. So they broke down each one of those things. Um, Healthy relationships involve respect, safety and security, trust, support, accountability, and a willingness to grow and work through challenges. All right. And so they have a picture of those components of a healthy relationship. And so I put a link to that down below. And now let's get a little bit into that methadone versus Suboxone. But before we get there, let me just check the chat. Oh, Karen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And so codependence, so with substance use and abuse, codependence is really common. There's normally somebody that's enabling the behavior. Sometimes it can be like sometimes there can be different roles that people play, and codependence within those types of relationships, that's really really common. Okay. All right. And so Oy, ugh. And they of course brought up in Kayla's testimony, because I guess she wrote a letter even after all of this. I think she wrote something that just wanting one more time with him or something, just wanting him one more time. And oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Y'all make sure to do the YouTubey things. I appreciate it. Um, all right. All right. So now let's hop over, because I was not fully aware, and this is on Recovery Centers of America. I'm going to put this link in there as well. I'm going to Buttercup, I'm highlighting your question, and I will get back to that in just a moment. All right. So, how are methadone and Suboxone different? This is not medical information, okay? And we're not encouraging people to do anything, okay? This is, if people have concerns, please talk with your professionals in your life. I work with people that where substances are secondary to trauma, so I don't do substance work, like specifically just for substance. I work with people that have grief, and the way that they cope with their grief is maybe too much alcohol or something. And then what we do is we, like, if AA is the right fit for them, but then we also try to address the grief, because sometimes substances is about covering pain. And so sometimes if we address the pain, the substance use gets better. But I don't work with people where their primary diagnosis is substance. I work with people where their primary issue is trauma or like something else. All right. All right. So methadone changes how the brain and nervous system responds to pain. It lessens the painful symptoms of opiate withdrawal and blocks the euphoric effects of those substances. The doses need to be slowly built up over time to avoid the risk of overdose. Suboxone is a partial agonist, so it stops it makes it so that, I believe, if you're on Suboxone and you try to take something, you can't get to that state because it blocks it. Like methadone, it binds to the brain's opioid receptors, but does not fully stimulate them like methadone. Because it's only a partial agonist opioid, Suboxone may be less effective at managing cravings and withdrawal symptoms for severe cases of addiction. Okay. And then there are different forms. Okay. I don't know. So, how are they different? So people would have to talk with their doctor to figure out which one would be a good fit for them. I will say that opioid, and also, I don't know if I can say the word, but the H, that substance, that Herion. I don't know if I can say that on the tube, and I don't want to find out that I can't. So that substance is extremely addictive. Trigger, too late. I can't do the trigger warning, but with it, because the person's always trying to get that first high, and they'll never get there. They'll never get back to that first time. And they're constantly seeking, and that's that risk for overdose. Because what opioids do is they literally block, like they slow everything down, and it can make it to where the person stops breathing. I do have Narcan, most libraries, if you know, like I carry Narcan. I have Narcan in my office. I hope to never ever have to use it, but God forbid, it was a situation where I suspect where like there was a concern. I do have it. I attended a training to be able to my brain to be able to, because I saw a good comment and I scrolled for a moment. um I my the squirrel the train of thought is gone. Okay, so let's go on ahead and do that one. The train has left the station. It just left the station. But let's go back to the comment because the comment was good. So for trigger warnings, I might do a little trigger warning swoop. I might do that. That was a good idea. Yeah. So I've only known people to get on the Suboxone. I've never worked with anybody that did the other one. Y'all know I have a squirrel swoop too, and I keep my little squirrel, my little up squirrel. He stays right here. We have these lovely moments. I've been streaming since 1:15. Okay? The fact that I'm still putting coherent sentences together is a miracle, y'all. Not quite a miracle, but like I'm I'm still putting things together. All right. So, but with opioids, and with those types, Narcan, you can often get it for free because I know a psychiatrist that paid for it because I think you don't need a subscription anymore. But there are often community programs that give it to you for free. A psychiatrist that I follow paid for it, and I was like, oh, I got 2 doses for free, and you paid $40, and so yeah. Um, why is Kayla like that? Who loves a man more than their own child? And this is where I go back to Jesse Hildebrandt. They did a phenomenal job talking about let's stop being shocked about things. This is more common. An individual putting their partner in front of their child. I wish I could say I've never seen this before. I have seen this a lot. I have seen this where a parent knew that their partner was harming their child and they gave up custody of that child because DSS said, if you don't leave him, you're going to lose your kids. And they said, I love him more. And they lost custody of their children because they would not leave that person. I know of situations where people have harmed kids and like the person has lost custody of said kids and then still had more kids with this person. And they're just waiting now for DSS to hopefully the person doesn't harm any other children, but if they do, that person is going to lose those children as well. And so this really is way more common than we even talk about. There was a YouTube video, I don't know if it was true, but there was a YouTube video of a woman supposedly dropping her kids off at her mother's house so that she could move in with her boyfriend. And uh, uh, so I did so the 6-year-old, if y'all saw me talking during while one of the videos was playing, I did kick him out. So he hasn't been in the room for like the last maybe 40 minutes or so. Like I did end up asking him to leave. Uh if I had to choose between my partner and my son, I'm choosing my son. Like, I just like, dude, don't like, I'm like, if something's not okay with my child and it's because, no, like, like, m- my, that is the mother in me. And I think that's what happens sometimes is we think this is what I would do in this situation. Why do other people make other decisions? And not everybody would make that choice. Not everybody is going to put their child first. And I just think you have to. I know of situations where people have been in relationships and their child hates that person. I mean, hates. They don't get along at all. And the person's just like, what? They gotta get used to it. And the child might have like some valid concerns, like the partner, like they're immature, like they're not, there's nothing harmful, but like, ooh, it's not a good fit. I'm very grateful my mom she never put somebody else ahead of me. Like, and she hasn't dated in a long time, but even when she was dating, if I had ever come to her and said, like, like, if I had had a good reason, or if she had ever suspected that something was happening to me, my mom probably would have been in jail. Like, she probably y'all have seen my mom on the podcast. Like, my mom, she don't play. She would not have wanted to deal with anything like that. I do think there was definitely codependence between Kayla and Adam. I think Adam needs that. He's Who would want to be with him? Does that, like, I get ugh, like he but, like, so he needs somebody to, like, need him and love him, but that's just the narcissism, like, ugh, I just can't with him. Um, I do not know where Kayla's kids are. Um, I don't know if her rights have been terminated. That would be up to the state where the kids are. I don't know if she willingly gave custody to someone else. I don't know what's happened to Adam's parental rights with those children as well. So the 3 youngest children, I don't and I've seen people commenting on it, in other chats. I have not seen, I don't think she'll have full custody. She doesn't have any child charge, but, I imagine at minimum she'll be required to do, like, counseling, parenting classes. um, it sounds like after she left him, things might have been, I don't know if things were okay. I don't know what happened to her after she left him, but alright. Um, alright. Another question. I think Adam has rage towards women. Heard his mom left him as a child. Is it connected to rage against women? I don't know. Like, it's because to me, it sounds like he has a temper in general, in my opinion. Comes off entitled to me. Y'all let me know what y'all think. To me, he sounds incredibly entitled, and when he's not getting his way, now I think he feels he can dominate and control women because I think he might like it when people fear him. Like, he might think that's respect. Like, he seems like a criminal. Does that make sense? Like, he might think, like respect, like, ugh, like, he might have this toxic view that, like, your girl should be afraid of you. Like, what? Like, oh, she better not say nothing. What? Like, that is toxic. That is really, really toxic. That's that's toxic. So those are my personal thoughts. I don't know him personally. I do think he's going to try to play every victim card he can. If he is found guilty, ooh, he's going to sing a sob story that's going to be he's going to say he's going to do the most, I think. Do we need to watch it again? Let's watch it again. So Grizzly True Crime covered something Adam said, and I don't believe a word of it, but we probably need to play it again anyway. Let me share my screen. I have the full link to Grizzly True Crime's video down in the description. Her channel is thebomb.com. That's where I've been watching this stream, and we're probably going to pause it again at the snark. There's some phenomenal snark. So when Adam was found guilty of his weapons charges, this is what
Sleeping in a car in a Manchester, New Hampshire parking lot on December 31st, 2021.
my bad. I gotta fast forward. Gotta fast forward to the next part. Okay, is this the part? I think it's right here.
The only consideration that I ask of you this morning is for you not to consider anything as it relates to the case regarding my daughter Harmony. I did not kill my daughter Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims.
I didn't catch her right at the eye roll like I did on the last one. I caught her at the perfect eye roll. Dude. Oh, like, I just can't with him. I just can't. I just can't. So, if you do want to watch coverage of this case, I really like the way that Grizzly True Crime that they manage their chat. She does a phenomenal job making sure that we focus. If we are going to have snark, let's have it towards Adam, because people have been saying all types of hurtful things about the witnesses. Because some of the witnesses, sometimes people have been talking about their appearances and all of that. Like, I don't. I have. Let's talk about Adam. I will talk about Kayla because Kayla was there. Okay. The only reason why she's not on trial too is because she turned into state's witness. Okay. So that's why I don't mind talking about those things. But her facial expressions, like she's doing like, oh, like and I love it because I'm over here doing the exact same thing. So Rob Lawn Lumber, like he stays so just like he doesn't show it, and I love it. Like Emily D. Baker, she's gonna show it. She's gonna scream into the mic. She doesn't cover cases like this normally because it's just sad. It really is sad. Let me know if y'all have any final questions because I'm gonna start wrapping it up. Oh, she used to be shy. Oh, she has a phenomenal community, and I really, really appreciate it. We might try to connect on the Sarah Boone case. So we talked about that in some DMs. Like we might try to connect if Sarah Boone ever makes it back to court. She will at some point. Lawyer number 8. We will hopefully get to a court date, maybe in May, even maybe in May for Sarah Boone. But yeah, he does. You can see it. They do get flush. They do get flush. No, Kayla's alive. Harmony, the child, isn't. And then his other girlfriend. So Kayla testified. We covered Kayla's testimony. His other girlfriend, I'm bad with names. I'm horrible with names. There's another girlfriend that passed of an overdose. All right. And Natalie, I know she's doing a ton of court stuff. And so um Kelsey, yes, there we go. Thank you. Yes, Kelsey is the one that it was a substance overdose. If y'all ever see me in the chat anywhere, make sure to drop some brains in the chat. That's our little inside joke. I love to nerd out with you all. Thank you to all 244 of you all that stayed even past that coverage of just the testimony. I so appreciate you all. I really every single sub, like somebody and I take y'all's feedback. So like because I will so the person that was like, how do you have 1,000 subs and you don't have YouTube Premium? And I'm like, I have student loans. I'm almost done. I'm getting close to being done. But so I did get YouTube Premium based on that recommendation. I have a conference coming up in March, and I'm going to attend a training about therapists on social media. And the guy, I think he has like 3 million. I don't know. He has a few million over on TikTok. I'm going to attend his training, but I appreciate being able because I see y'all's comments and I wanted to definitely talk about this case. On Tuesday, I believe the sentencings are coming up unless it got changed. I think this coming Tuesday, Jody and Ruby, for some reason on February 20th, I have it marked that there might be sentencing on February 20th. So I normally drop a video that premieres about 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. So if I can record, if everything's done during my break, I will definitely cover that. If I'm not able to cover that on Tuesday, then I'm going to cover the Fawny Willis out of Georgia. Heard a little bit of her testimony and talk about that a little bit. I've been asked to talk about that. Yeah. So Karen, go to sleep. Yes. So Sarah, yes, 8 p.m. Eastern, but Karen, you have to go to sleep. You can't. So Tuesday, you don't have to be there. Karen, go to sleep. All my times are in Eastern. I stream here Saturdays, normally 2 p.m. Eastern. This case had a lot, and so I do have that. I do have a paid membership. I think in the description, there's a link for how to join. You don't have to do it. So sometimes what I do is for that, if I do just a video, I give members early access, but just subbing is enough. Subbing is free. So watching this video, YouTube gives me a little something, something. But if you did want to join the nerd crew, the psych nerd crew, feel free to check that out. You should be able to click the join button. Oh, and then that book. Oh, so I do have a book. It's Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive. I keep knocking this thing out. How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. It's available on Amazon and signed copy on my website. But and Amazon's free shipping. Y'all can do it on Amazon and it's free. So I don't know. I appreciate you all. I appreciate my mods. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Karen. Thank you to every other person. Ah, and Sarah gifted a membership. Sarah, that's my first gifted membership ever. So if somebody got it, congrats. But yes, yes, yes. Y'all know. So we've been hanging out for a little bit. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, welcome, Ryan. Welcome, welcome. Anytime, nitty gritty. I hope y'all have a good day. Bye.